could use a couple of green LEDs.
Oh, hey, that's really nice. By the way, well, you know what? We'll kick that off because you're gonna have to do a little more careful show and tell because I will focus in on this.
Okay, because this is my USS Enterprise from the 1960s when the Star Trek show actually came on.
Wow.
And above and below, there's actually a sort of a greenish or maybe a bluish green lens on the top and the bottom with white LEDs. But over all these many decades, the color on the little plastic lenses has just slowly faded away and almost gone to clear, which is why it looks more white than the greenish glow that it used to have. So if I had a couple of green LEDs to put in there instead of those white ones, then I could get my Enterprise back to looking like it did when I was 12 or whatever.
Wow, that's impressive. It looks great. It really looks great. There's some, you can get some of those, for like, I don't know, about $40. You can get a one that's lit that's fairly reasonable. But that one of that age that's lit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you a question really quick. Are you a ham?
No.
You're not.
I used to have a technician's license back in the day when you had to code even to get a technician's license, and then I let it expire.
I was going to say, if you want to just email me your address, I'll put some in an envelope. Or
yeah, or I could put it in the chat here in this thing once I go fly this back to my bedroom and get back on.
You have to play some music, the Star Trek theme. Well,
hey, I found a customer. I get rid of a few, and then I'll just have about 9,950 to go.
Yeah, that's right. Well, everybody, this is the first Zoom meeting of July. Happy July 4th as of yesterday. Hope everybody had a safe holiday. And despite New England having more rain than sun, we still managed to make the best of it. So I hope everyone else did, scattered throughout the other parts of the country. But at any rate, I guess what I'm going to do, as usual, start off with Bob, if you wanted to have a moment to, if any announcements or anything you want to share with the group of us.
Sure, I'll just make a quick announcement. Thanks, John. The officers and directors didn't meet in May, but we did meet in June, just last week. And our topic was talking about our website. We're hoping to make some improvements on the website. Basically our our discussion revolved around the fact that our club website is really a hub for our other social media areas. So we talked about, how do we link our club site to the Zoom meetings, things of that nature. One of the things we want to do is improve our calendar and include Zoom meetings on that calendar. As you know, right now, John sends out the notices, but those notices go to people on Groups.io, and not all our club members are on Groups.io. So we really do want to reach out. I see that Len put up a notice about radio tune-up on July 22nd. Again, that's something that we could put on our club calendar. So we'll be working on that over the next several months, and when we make some progress, we'll let you know. And by the way, I wanted to thank John Gibbons. John offered to assist Joe Coco in providing support for the website. So thank you all very much.
All right. Oh, no, thank you, Bob. No problem. I did, in fact, speaking of that topic about events, I did generate a list of events to Joe, and hopefully we'll be able to get it up at least in a list form on our current website under the future events tab. It's not there yet. He has the future NEVEC events listed, but I'm hoping I gave a list of ones that cover Len, yours is already on the list. Because I think it's a good one. And of course I added the MIT ham events, the ham exposition in August, and Kutztown date, the Vintage Radio and Communication Museum has some swap meets. So I put those in what I call the regional ones that we're interested in. And Kutztown, of course, is sort of a de facto given because so many club members do go, or at least are interested. So hopefully that will get on at least in list form on our website. And then the goal is longer term is to get something, a calendar, an event sort of style tab that looks a little, that would be great if it brought up a calendar and you would have a link to all, it just has a straight calendar for each month and you can see what events are going on. You can click on it to like the link to the website so you can get more information, you know, where, times, things like that. So that would be the ultimate goal. But in the short term, we'll start basic. But at any rate, with that said, I guess the next topic is, does anyone have anything they would like to show? Recent acquisition, projects, things for sale? We have a taker, Mr. Van Beek.
Well, last time we were talking about that Tucker car radio, and I dug out, this is the head from it.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
That is awesome. And look at the condition.
The rest of it is just a box with the tubes. It's not too exciting, but this is the neat part about it. This is
that's
showing right side up.
I mean, how many of those could possibly be left?
Lots of them.
Really?
They're all over the place.
A lot of them, yeah.
You can find a lot of the heads. It's just the stuff that's,
Yeah.
you know, the tubes and the actual radio itself that's doing the heavy lifting is kind of the trick to find.
Wow.
Well,
Who would've
even
thought?
that one is used for a bunch of different cars too. It's not a
Right.
isn't hard to find.
Right. It's just seeing the keys with the Tucker.
No, but yeah, I
The
meant like the
actual-
keys, the buttons that say
Oh,
Tucker.
No, Greg is dead on correct about the radio itself. The thing is, the ones that they had allotted for the Tuckers, the ones that went in Plymouths and Dodges, I think used a blue hammer tone finish.
Oh,
And then
right.
the ones that went in the Tucker is kind of
Sure.
like a copper
Brown,
hammer tone.
Copper. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if you got the car to show or something like that, the purist, if they saw the blue radio in there, they'd probably
Yeah.
knock a bunch of points off you or something, you know, showing the car.
Well, I wanted to ask you, on one of your videos, you were in a little Tucker thing. It was like a half of a Tucker and you're steering it and the headlights moving. It had a radio in like this. Where was that?
It was actually out in trying to remember the name of the town, but what I want to say Hershey, PA, but it was before that. But it's the Antique Automobile Club of the American Museum.
Okay.
And my wife and I drove out there, and what happened was after the radio got done and the car went out, just before the car got shipped out for showing,
Mm-hmm.
I was invited to go to a cocktail party, but we couldn't go because I had some free thing going. So I had gotten a hold of the gentleman that did the restoration. His name was Rob Ida. He's got a restoration shop, and I've got a bunch of pictures. I can show them to you some night, and I can talk you through the process or whatever. But
Sure.
I sent a younger guy from our antique radio club to go. And I asked Rob if it was okay if I sent him. He said, yeah. And he took a bunch of pictures there for me. And
Okay.
that was just really, it was kind of an honor and a privilege to do it. I mean, and I can tell you stories about how it all went down. And actually, it took me 2 car radios. The first car radio, I'll share this with you. The first car radio I restored, I did it like in 4 days because there was time constraints, and I gave it to them. They put it in the car, and the 6X5 proceeded to short out.
Oh boy.
And you know what happens there? This bye-bye transformer.
Yeah.
So now I said, oh my God. And after I figured it out, I had to drive back to a shop. He had a second radio. I had 2 days to do the whole radio. I think I had like maybe 3 hours of sleep in the past 2 days. And then I dropped it off on a shop and just beat the timeline to get it going.
Wow.
So,
The other thing I found was just this past Sunday, we had a car show here. They had 40 years of this Ellington Lions Car Club, and they've always got a big flea market. Well, I found this little guy here. It's called a teeny radio.
How neat.
that is cool.
And it's just a little crystal set. It's from 1939.
Oh,
It's bigger than my hand. But they originally had a back cover on with cardboard. I had a Fonstock clip one for the antenna here, and there was another one for the little headphones. They're just a single headphone for it that's missing. But I don't know. I cleaned it up and put a little stain on. I thought it looks kind of cool.
That's a
That is
terrific
sharp.
condition.
Yeah, it's a little display piece. Never seen anything like that. That was my $5 purchase at the car show.
That's cool. That's easy $5 spent, no problem. That's certainly
Yeah.
a bargain. It's a bargain. Oh, you know what? Before I also included in this is anyone. Len put his announcement for the Steam Up, the Vintage Radio show on July 22nd. That he put in the chat window for you guys. Is there anyone have any other, like, not only things to show, but also any announcements? I forgot to add that in. Beyond that, that's noteworthy right now.
Well, the Marlboro HAMfest is coming on August 22nd. It's probably a pretty good show. I'm going to do a talk, Disappearing Radio History, Hope for the Future, and see if we can get some interest.
Which day are you giving that talk, Tom?
Say again?
Which day will you be giving that talk?
It's on Saturday.
Okay,
Which is the first of the 2 days. There's a little bit of action on Friday evening in the flea market, but Saturday is sort of the main day.
okay, good to know.
Saturday afternoon, probably. And also, if anybody's interested, I just got back from the Friedrichshafen radio show, and I have some pictures of things that you've probably never seen before, that I've certainly never seen before, that you might enjoy. So if there's time, John, I can slip a few of those in. I don't want to overdo it.
Oh no, we'd be happy. I don't think you'll have to ask me twice. But yeah, we'll give you let's give you like 10 or 15 minutes of the slot. So we could have some regular pictures, because it was so neat from your last year's event that I suspect you were equally as good as last year.
Yeah, I never finished off the pictures from last year,
Yeah,
but it's mostly all new stuff this year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Comment.
Oh, cool. Hey, Bruce.
Comment.
Sure, come on in.
So Tom, you better check your calendar. The Ham exposition is on the 25th, 26th, and 27th of August.
You're right. Thank you. I definitely need to check my brain.
That's okay, but yeah, that's on the list too. Hopefully it'll get deposited on our website before long. Great. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to show? Well, you got Brad showing his
call sign is AA1IP, and over the years I've accumulated quite an interesting assortment of components. Not too much in terms of clothes, tubes. Like I don't have a stash of 6L6s, for instance, but I can come through with passive programs, passive parts of good quality and very modest price. My wife says you really got to thin out the herd.
So you can have a table there, I take it, Brad.
It's a full basement. So I should be getting.
My wife's favorite comment is, if you die and leave me with all this stuff, I'll never speak to you again.
Exactly. Been that heard it before.
It's usually more another one. Actually, I can show a few recent acquisitions that were given to me by a friend. I guess friends of his gave him in the past, as well as I think his father. His father used to work at Western Electric, and so he had stuff that he stole slowly but surely finding. But it's just a few doodad things. Let's show this quickly. Here we go. Some of the things I ended up in my possession. Everyone see this?
Yep. Oh wow.
So what ended up in my my hands is this Sailor a multiband radio. It's made in Denmark and is intended to, I think it's really intended to be mounted into a ship, like a boat, and for nav aid purposes. In fact, you can see this, he bought it, must have been in France, because if I scan in here, you'll see is, and this is a French address, and you'll see in a moment, there's more there. Wait, there's more that comes with this. But this is about this can be, I guess it can accept AC. You can wire it in. I'll show the next picture as such. But it's meant to be a battery radio because it takes a 9-volt, one of those standard large 9 volts that you have like going lanterns. This radio is from about 1964, from what I can tell. I know very little about it until he gave it to me. Here's the one of the sides. You can see it's all meant to be sealed. It's missing one of the screws, but it will take external power. But this presumably one of these, maybe it's this, it connects into the next thing I'll show you. But it has a separate speaker connection, and which I don't have the speaker for, so I'd have to connect you. You'd have to connect your own in, and obviously sets headphones, which is obviously an option as well. Here's the battery box, also missing one of the screws, but that's where I guess whoever had it actually typed that up and pasted it to it. This is as I received it, so it tells you ever ready number 276, which is pretty much the standard 9-volt that we're used to on the big lanterns. This is why to connect it to it, so I'm told. I know nothing about this. It is a Technofrance locator, and it's got this long cord with a connector that would go into the side panel I showed you just a moment ago. That's as much as I know, and whether or not that helps set for location, that I know very little about this. And I know I did a quick search for Technofrance and found nothing, but I didn't really try too hard, so maybe I just have to try harder.
That horizontal round thing looks like it might be a ferrite rod, which would make sense if it's a direction finding antenna.
Yeah, that makes sense, Tom, because this cable, which is wrapped around here just for now, has an end that is compatible with this Thaler radio that which must, one of the bands have a nav aid for just honing in on a signal. So next up is I got a set of these Brandis Admiral match tone headset. They're probably, I'm guessing this is from the 40s or 50s would be a guess.
Yeah.
From my estimate. They're in pretty reasonable shape. Obviously, you can tell they've been around the ground for a while. Got some of the corrosion and so forth. But I don't know if they work, but it's kind of neat and unusual. Here's just a close up of the side thing, but that should look pretty familiar to most people who've seen these. And then I got a SpeedX telegraph key. You can see it needs a little cleanup. Tom, you had mentioned this is probably a common one. So you're thinking this was just added on top this top cap, and this may be the original pad underneath? That's correct.
Works underwater.
Works underwater.
Looks like it's been there for a while too.
Yeah, I don't know where it was, but yeah, it's it definitely needs a cleanup, but you see the SpeedX.
It looked like it belonged to Diver Dan, I think.
Diver Dan. Yeah, it's a pretty sad looking key. I'm not sure where it was stored. But be that as it may, you know what? It was free. And he said, you should have this. And I was like, well, okay, this is my first telegraph key. So that's a start.
The base looks a little like pot metal on that too. McElroy made some keys that were pot metal, and that right hand key trunnion support looks like it might be pot metal.
Yeah, you may be right, Tom. When I looked at your website, I did a match. It looked like the closest match was something you said was a Triumph something based design. That was the closest match I could find from the ones in your website, which I found was actually immensely helpful.
Could be from the Titanic.
Yeah, certainly not the Titan. But and then I got this microphone, I think. No, there's no markings of any sort on this, so this would be interesting if anyone is name that microphone. It's got a handle, as you can see, and it's got the same style cord, just like the ear set with the two connectors. You know, here's a close up of it, and there we be. You know, I know we're stored, but it's the back of it. There's nothing on it. Nothing I could see that would tell me whoever made it. This is the big mystery, the mystery device. So, and that, my friends, is my recent acquisitions that were, oh, and also came along with the ride was a Zenith Transoceanic R7000Y, you know, from 71 or 72, with all the manuals. So that seems to work pretty well. It needs a little cleanup, but the manuals are actually nice. It even has the original owner's manual, which is actually pretty cool. I didn't have a chance to take photos of that, but everyone's seen those. But at any rate, let me stop sharing that. Hey, Mark Nelson, I think this is a first. Welcome.
It is.
And look at that backdrop.
Yeah, that's my collection of TV boxes, or
That's cool.
one portion of it.
Well, you know what? We may have to, if you're going to be a regular, we're going to have you do a little show and tell. But very nice. I like the backdrop. And welcome.
Yep.
It's nice to see you.
Thanks. Yeah, I finally got a Wednesday free, so I could drop in.
Oh, glad you did. Very glad you did. So, did anyone else have anything to show before I sort of, maybe Tom, if you want, I could give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes now, and then go right and follow you through.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd also like to mention that I'm helping Fran Holly, Bill Holly's wife, dispose of about 70 telegraph keys that he had left. As you may know, he was one of the real major telegraph historians. His book on Vibraplex is an absolute classic, out of print and selling for big money these days. And I have pictures of all the keys, but I don't think there are enough people here who are into keys to be very interested in them. Bill, in his later years, got interested in miniature keys. And I don't know whether you noticed when he'd walk around the flea market, he always had a miniature key on a necktie around his neck or on his belt buckle or something like that. And those keys are coming up. Fran was contacted by a guy named Sousa, S-O-U-S-A, living in Massachusetts. And he wanted to buy Bill's ham gear. And Fran told him that Bill's ham gear had been sold. And he said, well, I'd like to come over anyway and look at Bill's telegraph keys. And so he's coming over tomorrow to look at these telegraph keys. And that sort of smells like one of the situations where people just swoop in on a widow and try and buy everything for cheap, especially since he contacted her right after the obit that I wrote for Bill Holly appeared in the AWA Journal. Now I'm asking you guys, does anybody know a Sousa in Massachusetts who might be out there buying stuff? Okay, Bruce Phillips looked him up for me, and he said he is retired and he has plenty of money and he's a ham. And so it looks like he may be legit. In any event, I priced all of the keys for Fran. Someone else had come in and given her prices, and I just sort of tweaked those prices. There were a couple of extremely valuable keys. There's a absolute exact miniature of the Titanic, Marconi Titanic key that sold for $7,000. And it's just sitting there, and she didn't know about the value of that one. And there are some other bugs that are pretty big time. And so I sort of tweaked the values. And if this guy Sousa comes over tomorrow, he will at least have prices. I told her to give him a 30 or 40% break on the prices because the prices are basically retail prices. Any comments from anybody about this situation? Okay, well, I guess we got it pretty well in hand. I won't bother you with all the keys because I think that 70 keys would put everybody to sleep.
Is there a first name for Susan?
Yeah, but I don't have it, Bruce. I'll look it up in a few minutes.
Okay.
Did you get a photo of the one?
NW1 something or other. I forgot.
Okay. Thank you.
So maybe I'll take you to Friedrichshafen and give you maybe 20 or 30 radios there, and we'll call it quits for from my end. Is that okay with everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you happen to have the replica Titanic key, we'd be happy to see a photo of that. So everyone might see a quick look at that if you can. Tom.
Okay. Okay, I'll bring that up after the radio stuff and insert it into whatever else is going on. So let me take you to Friedrichshafen. Friedrichshafen is a huge ham radio meet, and it's held in Friedrichshafen, Germany at the end of June every year. And they get 20,000 people. I think it's the next largest ham fest next to Dayton. And a lot of Russians show up there and try and peddle their radio equipment. This is an example of a complete portable Russian spy radio. You can see the little telegraph key in the middle there.
Oh, hey, Tom, I don't think you're sharing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you have to share.
Oh, you're not getting the picture?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, let me see what I can do about that. I'll go back. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Screen. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know where I am here. Again, telegraph case, let's see. Oh. Oh, okay, there we are. Wait a minute. Stand by 1 second. No. Well, it's going to take me a moment to debug. Oh, here we are. No. Yeah, here we are. No, we aren't. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. I see where we are.
No problem,
okay.
Tom.
So get this key, this radio. And let's try a different share. Okay.
I think, Tom, did you share yourself out of this meeting?
I think the aliens picked him up.
Yeah, there we go. Poor Tom. He's shared it. She's shared his whole body has been materialized, transported into cyberspace. So it's sort of like a Star Trek transporter.
No, did you put that transporter away?
Nice.
He has to reassemble him. Right now he's just floating in space.
If I bring him back, it'll be in 1965. So that's a problem.
To quote Saturday Night Live, man, I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do?
For Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'll do is actually
I will pick that sketch.
I'll actually do is I'll pick up where we left off then, and from last meeting, and then when Tom is back, we'll get him. We'll get him towards the end. So does everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
So this is where we left off. We advanced a little bit to this picture, but we were very much focused on that dashboard radio that was causing lots of oohs and ahs. And was announced. We found out afterwards that Ken Silvestri's son bought it and had it on eBay. John, did you manage to secure that? or is that did you miss out on the auction? That was I did see the eBay link.
Yeah, I went to the eBay link, but it had been priced out of my value range for what that piece was. I would have jumped on it for 75, but for
Yeah.
275, not so much.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I suspected you might have passed, but I thought I'd ask anyway, just in case, because it was that unique. Hey, Tom, welcome back. What I'll do is I'll just pick up with these photos and I'll save off 15, 20 minutes towards the end of the meeting, if you don't mind. Do it that way. At any rate, so here's this Helicopters S53A. That was for sale, and this bottle of very vintage looking soda pop, Min Rise. I don't know what that is, but I assume it's got caffeine. But
It gives you the daily portion of vitamins and minerals that you're supposed to get.
Could be
something like that.
Yeah, those snake oil concoctions of that era.
Would that be suitable for getting that white fungus on the control knobs?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if not that, Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah, that's true. And here is this really interesting airline radio with the like a scroll style dial. I thought that was really neat. Reminds me of the scroll speedometers from like the Oldsmobile Tornadoes or the
Or a tube tester.
For tube test, yeah,
Yeah.
scrolls. It's really quite cool and unusual. This one with the magic eyes. This is a fairly higher end airline. It's actually a really unusual radio. Even
Missing
preset.
the off on button.
Sorry.
I have one like that too, and that empty hole is your actually where your off on button would be.
Oh, is
The
that
volume
right?
Control. Yeah.
So there's
It would be a
missing
push
so
Kind
something
of like
missing.
those Philcos had.
So there would be two knobs here, Greg, or
Just one push button in that hole, and then you're
Oh,
below
I
that
see.
is a tone, and the one's a band switch. Then you've got the two thumb wheels. One is volume, and one is tuning.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, isn't that film reel kind of dial on there? It's like a film.
No, it's not a film strip. No, it's whatever they made dial material out of back then. There's just a bulb in the
Okay.
middle of it. It's almost the size of a toilet paper spool.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. That uses one of those real little eye tubes too. Those little, they're real stubby, like a 6AB5 or something.
Oh, like 6AF6 or one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, the short, stubby ones.
Because it mounts in the front of the chassis.
It's a certainly a uniquely designed radio. Especially, it's rare to see a tuning eye this low in the position because usually they're always up higher, like at eye level, for example. I find kind of interesting that they chose that location. It's a little bit unusual.
And that one, despite I think there's just one little corner broke out. That 10-inch escutcheon is in really good shape too. Yeah, there's just a little corner of it broke out, but otherwise it's not all warped.
Oops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. I got too close to the arrow. There we go. I'm sorry, Greg.
Oh no, I just mentioning the 10-inch grill looks good.
Yeah, no, it's certainly more than salvageable. I mean, obviously the top looks probably the most battle worn, but it looks more than salvageable. The only thing I suppose is we need something for the sign up button, right? Something to fill.
Right, or you'd have to put a switch on the tone control below it.
Right. Oh, this was a pile. This guy actually has some pretty good deals. And I almost bought it and I chose not to buy it. And I sometimes wonder why I passed on it. This Crosley, this guy's picking up, I have a better shot of that. I think it was going for $30. It's in really nice shape.
That's one of those reproduction with the cassette player in the side.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. I'm talking about it. Think of a different one. You're right. This is a repro. You're 100% correct. I'm looking right at it too. You're right. right.
They did a nice job on them. They look about the same, but
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. From the front, it looks pretty compelling because even it looks like a conventional clock. You know, this is probably the most accurately done repro I've seen
mm,
on this. But that was actually a reasonable deal. All thing, even if it is a repro, even if the cassette didn't work, it's actually pretty nice for a repro.
almost looks like that wooden one behind it was a silver tone or an airline.
Let me go back to that. Well, why isn't it letting me move the? There we go. Yeah. Oh, this one right here.
That one, yeah, that looks like it's
Yeah. I might have a better picture of that later. I can't remember to
Oh.
be honest, but
maybe not. Maybe not. From a distance, it looked like a little silver tone.
oh, okay. This Philco was going for $40 clearly. Yeah, needs
they-
some work, but complete. It looks like all the knobs look correct on this, and complete.
Could
Not
be a
all.
40,
Sorry.
46-1203 is the first one like that. That's got an automatic record changer under the lid.
Mm-hmm.
Philco made a lot of those in 46, 47, 48.
Oh, yeah.
I think that one's a 78 only one.
78 only, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's got that off-on switch where you turn it one way for the radio and the other way
Yep.
for the phonograph, and it's volume each way.
Yeah, I learned about that trick with the Bing Crosby.
The Bing Crosby. Yep.
Well, one, yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess it says phono radio. So I guess you're saying this is the one that controls it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a
That's
better
tone up
position.
there. And what's that say up there?
It's tuning up on top.
Tuning.
Dial
Yeah.
tuning,
Dial
dial
tuning.
tuning and tone.
Yeah. Yeah, that would explain it. Not bad. Is this a GE or Silvertone? Silvertone. There we go.
I thought that was a silver tone.
I'd be fooled for a moment because I've seen GE dial face that look remotely like that, but all too apparent Silvertone.
Mhm.
This was $30.
Looks like that has a record player in it too.
Yeah, I would say so.
No.
Looks, salvageable. I mean, the complete and not seriously, marred. Certainly could be cleaned up and perhaps made into reasonable shape without a major rework, redo of the finish.
Mhm.
This here is what was this? Is this a? I don't know what brand this is.
That's the Zenith, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like the 70s.
Oh yeah.
It could be because
Yeah.
this guy had a big console there he was playing. I think he had a battery. He was running off battery power at one point. I think this was playing. Yeah, you're right. It is the Zenith. I see it's faded, but there it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's definitely from presumably the 70s, somewhere along the line, maybe early mid 70s. Does have stereo. So it's actually kind of neat. There it is in all its glory.
Yeah.
But good size. That looks like that's a good, easy for probably about 5 feet wide.
That'll take up some wall space.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cheap if you
gosh,
buy
yes.
it by the pound.
Yeah.
Yeah. No question. Oh, and here's a array of,
Wow.
this guy was getting rid of old TVs and speakers and phonographs, radio chassis. This was pretty much potpourri of. That was kind of neat. You see the Crosley box in the back. It's actually rather nice shape.
There you go. That's like a little bit of everything there.
Yeah. This guy always takes the same spot and always brings out all sorts of strange and unusual things and some really good stuff. Just You have to go check it out closely because you never know what he's brought from show to show. Even some more modern stuff over here to the right. So you've got the whole gamut here.
You say he always has the same spot?
I think typically he puts himself in the same general area from my recollection.
Well, that explains the altercation that we had when he arrived after me.
Oh,
That's all right.
I see. That's all right. As long as it worked. That's funny. Yeah, it's just I'm doing some memory. I just it's a minor factoid that occurred to me, Bruce. It's like, yeah, he's always in the same spot. He always has the same style.
He needs to get up earlier.
You were
That
there.
another old record changer in the milk crate on the back left.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good catch. You know,
Looks like there's
I found myself
there's-
looking at this neat Crosley rotating heloscope loop antenna box. That was in pretty good shape.
Looks like he's got two identical Philco chassis there from like a console. Yeah, that one and the one to the left of it. Looks
Yep.
like they're both the same.
Yeah, I think you're right. Pretty close.
The one in the lower left.
He did sell about everything he had.
Wow, he did good.
He
Then.
must have had really good deals. I mean, I didn't look because I mean I looked, but I didn't actually check the prices because nothing jumped at me that I, needed or wanted. So I didn't even check the prices. But he must have been offering really good deals. That's good. People need parts or parts units, and
Yeah, it looks like a fairly complete, I think that's an RCA, isn't it? Like the brown power supply with the speaker and then the chassis to the left of it with that
Yeah, it's an
strange
early
kind of dial face.
about like a 29 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
you talking about this?
No, the one in front of it.
Oh, this one. Okay, I was right the first time. Okay, yeah.
And then
That
and
like
then
an
what's just to the left of it.
Something, Greg. I forget the model number of that one.
Yeah, I can't remember the model number either, but I just know in that sub chassis there's a lot of tire boxes to dig
Yes.
parts out of.
They're just a couple of caps, that's all. Some filter caps.
This looks like it's connected
But
to this.
yeah, it is. It is. They go together. And that dial face always intrigued me there, the way you had to slide that bar back and forth to tune it.
Oh yeah, and then you locked it in once you.
Yep.
Some interesting ideas on how to tune. I think I have a better picture of this TV shortly, but that was just a view of people milling about. It was a pretty successful day. This is probably not when everything was full yet, but this was the day we had. It just looked overcast and gloomy all day, but the clouds were all high enough that we didn't have to worry about whether it was going to rain. So it
That's good.
got through till about 11:30, 11:45 is when it started to spritz. So we did pretty well. Yep. Scope.
Ooh, respect him.
Nice.
Spectrum analyzer.
Yeah.
Never heard of that. It's got a rather nice display on it, though.
Yeah.
What did they, what was he asking for that?
I think he was asking, it looks like $500 if I read this correctly.
It's like a pretty good dynamic range.
So
That come with 100 times probe? $500, that must be a heck of a scope.
I would say.
yeah.
Spectrum analyzer.
Yeah, spectrum analyzer.
Oh, I stand corrected.
There's that noise floor down there about minus 95 dBm.
Yeah. So I forgot whose table that was, but yeah, I think it's the gentleman that always brings lots of various test equipment.
Looks like it's got the manual on the lid. Go back
Yeah.
up from the
Let me
label.
back off that here a second. Oh yeah, right on top here. Yes, you are correct, Brad. Pretty sure that's got the whole. I think so. No, I'm not so sure. That picture makes me a little bit worried that that's not it, but I could be wrong. It's a little bit hard to tell at such an angle. But I'm going to assume that you're probably right. That maybe don't pay too much attention to that cover. Here's a realistic DX120 with speaker. Kind of neat. You don't actually see these that often. Really good shape too.
You usually see a lot more DX 150 or 160s. That's kind of I mean, albeit it's just kind of like a novice receiver, but the fact that it's got the matching speaker, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of like the whole thing. You know, it's just maybe it's a walk down memory lane. You know, with Radio Shack and Realistic.
It's a nice shape.
It is. It's a terrific
I
shape.
think it's worth 80 for that.
I'm with you there. I would say so. It's really in terrific shape. And I like the dial face, nice and simple and color keyed, very straightforward. Did a nice job. Give him kudos for that. Up there's Joe Coco's table, and hey, there's Russ. Wait, right, we have Russ in two places.
Yeah, needed more caps.
So you're going.
This is Caps R Us table.
Yeah, it's Joe Coco, WJOE.com.
Caps and everything else.
He's our parts guy. He has them. He has these. Often here's his bulbs hanging off of here. He's got also LED and switches and ears and things to do your little home, do-it-yourself things. And look at that! Looks like Mr.
My latest envelope.
There you go. Yeah, Joe's and his daughter's always there to help out. And this
is nice.
Got a variety. This gentleman has a variety of neat toys. And various test equipment, and I'm not really sure what this is. It looks like an amplifier, but I'm not sure what it does exactly. This cage is very intriguing. It's like a hamster cage.
What are you pointing at? Which one?
Sorry, the one.
Oh, I see up there on the upper right. Yep.
And then various precision signal generator and this little Grundig satellite. Might be a satellite. S350.
Yep.
And a projector. Got a
mic stand for a midget.
That's right. And Variac right there. Yep. Some good stuff. And then like the aliens have landed.
That's a rather interesting looking thing.
Yeah. It's funny when I first looked.
I was going to say, if you had a drone that was big enough, if you wanted to scare the people in your neighborhood,
oh boy,
just like take the drone, have a cable connected to that, and fly it around the neighborhood in the dark.
That'd be cool.
that would raise some eyebrows, I would think.
It's we got to play the Close Encounters of the Third Kind music.
He's got a high voltage probe in the plastic box.
High voltage probe.
One of them 10 kV probes. Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sticking up there.
Yeah.
That two-tube thing in the cage there looks like it might be an operational amplifier. Maybe they use that as the front end of a, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you may be right there, Tom.
The only two-tube gizmo like that I remember was an op amp. And those 4 tubes look like voltage regulators, don't they?
Yeah.
Could be.
Maybe onto something there, Tom.
VR something.
Very interesting. Yeah, that was unusual.
There's a BNC connector on the front of it with the word output next to
Yeah.
it. So.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, right there.
My eyes aren't good enough to decipher that quad of tubes that Tom just brought up.
No, and I'm losing all resolution at this panning.
Yeah,
in.
they could be like OA2s or something like that. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Part on the left says gain, I think.
Oh, you may be right. But that's might be what that says. And I think that might be a G. I think I'm gonna give
Yeah,
you
that's
points
good
there.
catch.
You're right. Good call.
Does anybody remember using an op amp as a front end for an audio system? I don't know if I've ever
Well-
heard of it done.
Well, there often the input stage on at least transistor amps is a differential amplifier, right? With the comparing the input signal to the output, right? The control loop. So that could be that, but it doesn't look like any amplifying tubes there. If indeed, those are regulators. So who
It's a
knows?
very, very early LM318.
Yes, right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
When I first saw this picture, I thought for the moment this item in the middle it looked like a plunger, and I realized, no, wait a minute, that's not a plunger. Like you never know what you find out at swap meets, right?
Not the foot stand.
It's certainly an eclectic mix of stuff on that table. That's for sure. Everything is different.
Oh yeah, you name it.
What's that blue envelope?
The blue envelope. Oh, wait, okay. Let me go back up. Blue envelope. Oh, this here?
Yeah.
Some kind of a case for a probe or something.
Maybe.
Microphone, maybe.
There's a make, but some sort of manufacturer. But I don't know if I'm losing so much resolution that I'm not sure I can do this justice.
All right, you're not losing resolution. You just don't have enough.
I mean, that's right. Thank you. You are correct. The camera on my phone only does justice so far. I think actually this picture might have been with my this might have been taken with my Olympus, which is only 4 megapixels. So it does a fine job for moderate zoom. Still, I've had that camera 15 years, actually more than that, going on 18 years. It's never let me down.
Yeah. Too much more than that, you have a hard time holding it still. So
yeah. Here's a close-up of a Lafayette public address amplifier. Actually, nice condition. Certainly a niche item, but still kind of cool.
Precision electronics.
Yes, at Lafayette. I have a warm spot for those guys.
Nice color.
Yeah,
it's so red. It's really bright red.
Yeah, the tan, the red is a nice. I think it looks good as the combination. And I guess some other more modern stuff above and below it. Yep. Now you know. There's this Sony receiver.
Front, rear.
Oh, it's an SQ decoder.
SQ decoder, yeah, 4-channel, quadraphonic.
That's a quad.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, I didn't look at that carefully. Good call. Actually,
I remember 1973 well, when everybody was going after this stuff like crazy.
Oh yeah, my dad was one of them. He had a
3 or 4 different standards.
He had a Panasonic quadraphonic that was actually pretty cool. In fact, I found one in really, really nice condition on eBay. Guy's asking a high price. I think it's still for sale, but I only had 2 of the 4 speakers. And I was kind of, the condition-wise,
There's a niche group of folks that buy this stuff like crazy.
Yeah.
So, I was actually helping out at an auction, and I found I think it was a 20. I can't remember the number, but it wasn't the top of the line quad receiver. It was a Marantz. It was like the next to the top of the line Marantz receiver, and I was talking it up before they. I'm holding the thing and I'm talking about it, and just the bidding started slow, and then just the crowd went nuts. I think the thing finished for just under $1,000. It was like $950 for this thing.
Wow.
Well,
The
I'm
quad
sure there
receiver.
was some rare and more desirable. The one my dad had was probably like a midline Panasonic, but still nice. I mean, you know what? It sounded great in the house, and
Yeah.
and he had the 4 speakers. And he also had a turntable that with his, you know, a Panasonic turntable that would mount and connect on top of the receiver.
Yeah, that's usually the hard part, finding a quad turntable.
Yeah, it took you could have it run. I think it could tolerate just running straight, you know, records without, you know, just I don't know forgot what mode it did. Where you ran to like 2-channel mode. It was more than back. It was backward compatible, I suppose, in that regard. Because I remember my sister had plenty of records that she, you know, my dad allowed her to play she played a regular old compact Sony in her bedroom. You know, put on the Panasonic. It's not great. But
Just slightly ahead of their time.
yeah, and then it sort of went nowhere. But you know, it was a neat fad from our history. This is actually a neat looking radio.
That looks like an Emerson.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There it is. You made the call.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Well done.
I was a guess on my part because I saw the font on
Nice.
the dial.
Yep.
But that's really a cool looking box that thing is in.
It sure is. Got it.
makes-
I really liked it. I don't know what the person was asking for, but it's really nice shape overall. Easily restorable and clean up. Even then, everything looks clean. The knobs look, you know, whether they need to be a good cleaning, it's really much there.
Used to be rectangular before they left it in the attic too long, and then
Oh, well, I thought that could be another possibility there, Noah. You know, but yeah, I don't know whether this is an Ingram cabinet on this one.
I would guess it probably is.
I would think so.
Emerson Ingram made all kinds of stuff for Emerson.
Yeah, my brother, I sold an EB344 Emerson that was the lunchbox style radio. That was actually attractive as well. That was from 1940. Really nice little unit.
Has anybody tried using the stuff that they advertise for making your headlights come back after they've gotten all foggy on a piece of plastic like this? Do you have any idea whether it might work?
A really
Well,
good question.
the material that's on a headlight is different than what's probably on that radio.
But even
You
the
could
headlight might
probably on the radio, you could probably get away with, like, say, Novus #2 polish, and it would probably clean most of that up. The car, however, is a little bit different story because the headlights on the car, well, you're dealing with a different kind of plastic. First of all, I'm not even sure what they're using. I'm sure it's kind of a Lexan based material, but a lot of that yellowing is because of a lack of, or just the venting out of any what they call the UV inhibitor, which was actually a small additive that was added with the original polymers when it was injection molded, and they just dry up. So the only way you can really get rid of that is you'd have to do it right. You'd probably have to do a 2-stage, something with just a little bit of abrasiveness to it, and then follow it up with like a finer polish to get that gone. So
yeah.
Thanks, Matt. That's good to know.
Yeah, I'd be careful with that headlight stuff. And the headlights are multiple layers too. I think there's an outer hard shell. And
it depends on the manufacturer, and you raise a great point, that you really, before you even start that, you should either do one of two things: either take it off the car, which is probably what you're not going to do, or just mask the heck of around you, like the paint and everything around that headlight, so you don't screw up any paint that's on the car or any trim work or whatever, before you even start to attempt that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, the alternative is there are places that make new dial faces, you know, dial plastics like that. You could probably get a replication made if it maybe already exists, but Imagine that'd be an
I have a friend, I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Mark, and he's always at Kutztown, at the Kutztown, that's most of the time. And he makes a lot of these in repop. So if you can't polish that one out, you can probably get that from him in repop.
What's interesting about this one that looks to me, it looks like it's not just a flat piece, but it looks like it's got like you know, 3 dimensions there. Looks like it's got a little size. I'm just judging from this that sits over the dial face. So that might be a little bit more complication time around, but I imagine
Well,
maybe-
most of the dial covers are vacuum formed, so what you have is just basically imagine if you would like a hot plate with suction on one side.
Yeah.
So whatever the shape of it is, it just kind of sucks that in place and then, you know, cools off, and then you can take it out. So you can do that with any shape or whatever. That's something you'll never be able to 3D print.
Right.
Right.
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, clear, yeah. But the
There's
question
a
is,
couple. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the question is whether that bow was original or it came over time in what we're looking at.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I don't know without seeing some other comparative radios. So what's interesting is it's, you know, it could be just age and shrinkage, and so you can see a little more of a gap up in the upper left than you do on the right. Now it could be the camera angle, but it's possible there's been a shift in shape and so forth over time.
I would think that, yeah, I believe you're right, John, because I think that initially that may have had some shape to it when it was new, but that's just years of heat and cooling, and you don't know what kind of environments the thing has been in.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way it is.
I think the guy that you're thinking of is Mark Palmquist.
Yes, that's right. I couldn't remember his last. Thank you, Greg.
I think his website is dialcovers.com, and he's got $20 a pop for dial cover for just about any radio you can think of.
Oh.
And Mark's a really good guy to talk to too. I've talked to him on many occasions, and he's helped me out when I was looking for this stuff. So he gets the Radio Wild seal of approval.
But otherwise, this is a nice looking radio. You know, it's a showed the dial cover. Be a nice radio. Oh, here's a nice air castle.
Yes,
pretty nice shape.
Hmm.
You know, got a magic eye. Pretty nice looking dial face there. Just maybe needs a little bit of cleaning or some sort of handling. I'm not sure what's going on this right side here. You know, maybe typical aging and heat and so forth. But
Looks like there's a spring on that shaft there.
yeah, exactly. Good call. It is missing a knob there, or you know, but
those knobs look too military to be original.
you may be right.
Yeah, they don't look like the correct knobs for it.
Yeah, you would expect wooden, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Well, either wood or a better looking plastic knob. That looks like way too industrial. I think that's probably whatever he had in his
They look like
junk drawer or whatever.
Crafters or something.
Yeah, you know, just something you'd probably expect to see on an S25 or S28 or something.
You may be right. That's probably about right. Makes sense. I agree. Otherwise, I mean, cosmetically, it's not in too bad a shape. Even if that's the original Bro cloth, that's not in bad shape. Hard to say for sure, but interesting radio.
Mm-hmm.
Up, hippo. This might be.
Look at the finish on this. It's stunning.
Yeah, there were a few at the show, as memory serves.
When you polish these guys out, if they're really ugly and faded and everything else, you can make them look that good. I bought a $5 radio at a HAMfest, a Hippo, and it didn't look well. I don't know. This picture makes that radio look really good, but mine came out almost as good as that one.
Yeah.
Just really nice looking set.
A little tip on those hippos. Originally, they came the skirt on the knobs was painted gold. The very bottoms of the knobs.
It had a little trim piece inside the see where the layers are on where you would grab it with your fingers and the outer layer? What
Yep.
Greg is saying
Yep.
is there's actually a ring, a little gold ring inside of that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Very interesting. Well, I don't
Typically what
see-
happens
Well, no,
is
actually, the knobs themselves, they were painted gold on just on that base part. Right where he's got the mouse, that bottom part, down a little bit more, John. That part right there, that was gold. And the top half was that natural color.
Oh, interesting. I don't see any on these. Did
And
they?
because of use, they wore off. That's why most of them are just natural color.
Oh, that's it. So I didn't realize that. I've never seen one with the original with the gold then, as far as I can remember. I've always seen them with these style knobs. They get
I tell you what you usually see, John, is that gold paint or whatever, it almost tarnishes. I've seen them turn green. Like if
Right.
you had something
Yep.
that was gold or copper and it just kind of went away. Like look at that knob right there. That's a good example.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's
You
exactly what you're
can
saying.
kind of see
Brown.
remnants of it on that knob, just on the bottom. It's
You're thinking around here, for example, Greg? In this area, is that what you're suggesting might have been the former,
yeah,
where it would have been gold? Yeah.
that's the part. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I guess you could painstakingly try to reproduce it, but it would be a
So
labor.
I've painted them by hand already.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Just gonna say, you just have to take your time. It's like building a model kit. You have to take your time and do it. It's nice though. It's a nice radio.
Yeah, they're very nice. See.
It's like a Edison style
Oh, yeah, cylinder.
player.
That might be an Edison player.
Yeah.
It has that kind of look to it.
Yep. What do we have here?
PT something.
Bilco, we're showing what model this might be. Transitone. Very nice. Nice shape. Looks like it was probably restored.
That's kind of rare because you see more of them in the plastic versions. But that's a handsome little radio right there in the wood. That looks nice.
Yeah, I like the wood cabinet on this. Very nice. Everything's like nice shape. Wonder if this was refinished, just judging from this area being looking a little different. Maybe this is refinished some time back.
I don't know if my phone is showing on the camera here, but this is a knob that I did on a Hippo. not
Oh,
too
let's
long
see.
ago.
Let's see. It's not showing up yet. You have to probably bring it there. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Wait, hold on a second
Yeah.
here.
Whoop, it's getting dark. Hang on.
Oh yeah, I guess we can sort of see it. I don't know if I can stop sharing and hone in a little bit on that there, Greg. Good. Let me try it
That's
on
glaring.
speaker.
I couldn't see myself.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay, I think that actually helps. That's
Wow.
actually
The
a lot more
base
involved.
is actually,
Did you repaint
Yeah.
that?
I painted that by hand. Yeah.
Wow.
Well done. That was that had to take a good. That must have been a good
So
couple
that's,
hour, an hour or two each. Wow, that looks. That really sparkles. I mean,
yeah,
I could.
I'd say about
That came out really nice.
15 minutes a piece.
Oh, really? Better than shorter than I thought.
Yeah. Just like a little tester's model brush and some gold tester's paint. And
Yeah, that's the thing. I might have, yeah, you do the oil base, you can do that. To me, it makes wonderful acrylic paints that are used that coats very well. So this here is a Nordmenda Galaxy Mesa 6606. It's a multiband radio.
okay.
I would say midline. It's funny, I took this picture. It wasn't until towards the end of the show that it came home with me.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So, I mean, short of just a couple little marks on the faux wood grill, it's painted. Let's face it, boys. This is plastic with some brown paint that someone has sort of, made it look faux wood, which I could probably, mixing the right colors, could sort of reproduce. This is a really great nick. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit more, just detail stuff. But it works great. This was actually a delightful little radio. And one of the things I like about it, as I discovered, is the handles come out. There's little flip handles that come out, and you can tune in the radio by using just the little arm, for more precise tuning. So it was a nice little feature there. And then there's it comes with AC and DC. It's running on battery right now, but nice little dial lamp that you could just flip on and off with a nice little switch. Typical elegant German switch, has a nice tactile feel, and it flips on, and it's a great little radio. I am impressed with. I paid $40 for it. I thought it was a good deal, because and bless the Germans, they love push buttons everywhere, and if it's a great little radio. I thought it was a really very reasonable. That was a fair price. I have a soft spot for some of these early solid state German radios, these multiband. They sound great, and their sensitivity is pretty impressive. And, this doesn't disappoint, really. Another German radio. Oh, this is a little bit of a funny story. This gentleman who happened to buy this Normenda from, he's also selling this Gretz. I think it's called a Fantasia. This is probably, I might say 60, 61. This is stereo, and he was playing it, and overall it sounded pretty good. You don't see these so often, because Gretz was sort of I wouldn't say like a first tier. They're more like a second tier German radio maker, because it was just didn't have the press or the well, all the they weren't to the same levels like a Grundig or a Telefunken or Saba and so forth. But they're still good radios. But at any rate, towards the end, this gentleman came up and was thinking about buying it. Really kind of wanted. He was hovering it all around. He kept thinking to himself, he's saying, I have all these radios. My wife is not going to like this at all. And I think he offered him for a deal he couldn't pass up. I think he was asking 50 for that radio, and I think he took it away for $40. I thought it was a really good deal for a rare radio, but I can only imagine the blowback he would have had when he got home with it, because he seemed very tentative about buying that radio. But I hope he's enjoying it, because it is actually a nice piece, one of the big German pieces of iron there. But it's definitely stereo. You see the two big speakers up front. I think it's twin speakers on the side. So nice system, and pretty uncommon, and actually in really nice shape. And let's see, we had a few various solid state multi-wave. I don't even know who makes this. Strato World.
RCA.
Is it? Thank you. Because I was looking for a label and I can't find it, but it may be obscured by the one up front here.
Well, you got the Zenith in front of the other one, so they ain't hiding it.
Yeah.
That's a Royal 755 Zenith without the tuning, the direction finding antenna on it.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure what's behind this, but this could be an import of some sort. And wait, there's more. So we had this nice Kenwood.
Silvertone 800.
Yes.
Nice little portable.
Ultra power too, not just power. Ultra power. And this Kenwood here.
Oh, it's a Kenwood. Can't make out the model number.
That's the TS 940S.
940S. Yeah, it's a good radio.
Yeah, it's got that with the Kenwood microphone here. And this is just one of this table, pan up one of the tables here. Varying parts, varying test equipment here.
Hmm.
Up, your inevitable Zenith. This forget the model H something, but
They
CDs.
came in varying model numbers or whatever. There's a gentleman in the New Jersey club, and I think I've fixed 3 of those radios for him, and all 3 of them had silver mica disease.
Yeah, that's right. That's their well-known.
All of a sudden, I become the main silver mica surgeon now. I don't know why. It just happened that way.
Lucky you.
And one thing that's really strange about that radio is that there's a number, I forgot how many IF cans are in that total. I think there's like 5 of them. But one of the IF cans in there is half of it's AM and half of it's FM. And on one of his radios, the FM one went bad. I've never seen that before. So, but the FM, like typically the AM cap, I think is 120 puff or something like that. The FM is like 44 or something like that. I put a 40 in it and I was able to tune it. But man, oh man, oh man. Just pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a great looking radio.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a jewel?
Fun to look at, no fun to repair.
Wasn't there a glass jewel sticking out of the front with a neon lamp behind it? On some
Yeah.
Is what the light
is. There's somewhere, I forget where. I think it's above the dial up top.
Yeah,
see right there where he's got his cursor. Zenith used that on a lot of sets too.
Oh yeah, you're right there.
I don't know what that is.
Not sure either.
Greg, you want to take a whack?
Almost looks like an airline.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's trying to look in close up, see if I can see any. Because usually airline has their name on the radios. That's kind of on the dial face somewhere, but for this one's not, unless it was on there aged off. It's actually in pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
A nice looking set.
Yeah.
Nice gold dial.
Yeah. I mean, it's got phono and AM, so you've got 2 modes. Yeah, it's neat. Oh, another hippo, not quite as nice and polished the other one, but this one's going for $40, I think. Yep.
Pretty good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it says it works. No. That was in front of the the unknown radio there. Same issue, I guess, with the knob. You have to get out your paintbrush.
Well, if only somebody could come up with some clips for the hold the backs on those things. They had these really weird spring clips that.
Yes, they're a pain in the neck. They're like a remedial Fahrenstock clip to hold the board on in the back.
Right. If you sneeze, it falls off.
Yes.
From early. Don't know who made this unless it's the homebrew.
That looks like it's probably a homebrew.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. But it looks like a pretty nicely done homebrew, I'd say. All things considered, I know this is lifting a bit. That might be just heat and age. Kind of neat. Yeah, it's nicely done. This is a Grundig 2065. Yes. Hi-fi sound. Midline radio, lower midline. Needs a fair amount of work. Nothing serious, but needs a lot of modern amount of cosmetic stuff. But could turn into a good radio for somebody for the right price. Don't know whether it works or anything, but plus this dial face, something looks, the grill area looks a little off.
Did that have an iTube in it or something? That little gold.
Yeah, right here. This would be probably an EM80 would be my guess.
Okay.
That would be my guess. my recollection. But this also has some nice. One nice thing that we made is a little bit nice is they have these nice adjustable sound register thumb wheels on for bass and treble. So it's kind of nice. So it's actually made it above average for a midline, like maybe an upper midline radio. Ah, look at this! All sorts of test equipment, some TVs, phones.
Wow.
Quite the potpourri here.
You got a
Boy.
bicycle radio, a couple of bicycle radios.
Get this RCA.
ICO power supply. You've got the HP VOM and some other HP test equipment there.
Oh yeah. So
And one thing looks like it's like a load tester for a car battery. That's what it is, but what it looks like.
Keith Kit transistor checker. Got some phones. You named it. So a lot going on this table. Sure.
I had that same radio on my bike back in the 70s.
Oh, right. I remember those. Sure.
The yellow button was for a horn. You could toot a horn.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. The yellow button.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Up close up with the TVs. A couple of GPX and not sure what this is. But realistic equalizer. And a realistic amplifier.
Duquesne.
Never heard of them.
They've been around. They were around.
What's that right?
Yeah, they used the Duquesne stuff. A lot of the Duquesne stuff went into schools and churches and stuff like that.
Ah, if you didn't know, Mark Nelson, we couldn't identify, you found out it's an airline 15BR1547.
Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah, get back. See, everybody, the collective knowledge on these Zoom calls is always impressive. Somebody always has. Thank you, Mark. You know what? Actually, maybe I'll make this the last photo because I'm going to hand off back to Tom. Tom, you're still on, right? I can't see everybody on here, so.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so maybe I'll make this the last photo, and I'm going to hand off for you to give us a little taste of Friedrichshafen. This is just a handout anyway, and we'll pick up maybe next time right here. It's a little replicas. Stop share here. Now I'm going to hand off back to you.
Okay. Are we seeing that one?
We sure are.
Okay, the little key on the right is the one I was talking about. It's an exact copy of the Marconi key that was on the Titanic when it went down. Probably the most famous and collectible of all the telegraph keys.
Wow.
And that little baby is worth $5,000 to $7,000. The guy who made it even made the threads match proportionally the Titanic key. I happen to have an original Titanic key, and he came over and spent hours and hours and hours measuring everything. So it's a pretty impressive little toy. This is, let me see if I can do this. This is a loose coupler and what looks to me like maybe a crystal detector on the left. Anybody into this level of radio equipment? This is part of Bill's setup that he used when he was putting a spark transmitter on the air. And this was, I believe, the receiving equipment. And we're trying to figure out a price for it. My guess is that if it had labels on it, and it doesn't, which indicates maybe that these things are homebrew. At homebrew, they're probably worth maybe $300. If it had labels, they might be into the $500 or $700. Any feedback on that. It's not my field. Okay. Bill also collected clocks, and this is a Chelsea clock, 24-hour clocks. He was in the Coast Guard, and so he used a lot of 24-hour clocks. Here's a very, very important little pocket watch. It's a Marconi pocket watch. Let me see if I can possibly increase the size of that. Yeah, am I going to do that? I don't think I can do that. Anyway, it says Marconi wireless something or other on the little clock there, and I don't know. I can't put a value on that. I have no idea what that might be worth, but it's pretty nice. It sort of looks to me like maybe it isn't in the right case because the ring is sort of sticking out of the end there. And the case has been cut. It looks like the top has been cut. So maybe it's supposed to be like that. It's always difficult. Bill didn't bother to put prices on any of this stuff, so it's been very difficult to come up with reasonable idea of what they're worth. This is a strange one with letters as well as numbers on the dial.
Unusual.
So I just thought you'd be interested in seeing if you.
We appreciate that. That's really interesting. Could you go scroll back, Tom, to the nobody.
Yeah, I can.
That was at the Chelsea clock, the 24-hour clock. You don't see those that often.
Yeah. Let's see. Are you seeing this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what happened before. I'm sorry.
No,
There's
that's
the Chelsea. It's made in Boston, it looks like. And Mr. Mike from Deerfield is a clock collector, and he said they're worth about between $200 and $400, depending on whether they've been serviced and whether they're running and stuff like that. But that would be, I think, probably a wall clock that you'd have maybe on board a ship or in a radio room for Coast Guard and Navy.
Wow, that's really neat. Yeah, thanks for that. I just want to have another look at that. That was really quite unusual. And
Yeah.
you say you have the same Marconi key on the Titanic. Is that the exact era?
Say again? What?
Do you have the exact one from that era that they based this?
Yes, I have an original, or I had an original. I sold it to somebody. It went for $20,000. So there's some serious money to be found in telegraph keys. I don't think I can get up to the other ones very easily. Oh, maybe I can. Stand by one. There are a couple of interesting keys at the very beginning. As you know, Bill liked to walk around with a miniature telegraph keys on his belt and on his clothing. And this is a souvenir key at the 25th annual reunion of old-time telegraphers in 1905. And this is an exact miniature version of a Bonnell hand key. They sell for about $750. They're perfectly workable and they are just absolutely beautiful. You can see the little ring on the end. They were given away to old-time telegraphers as a retirement present. If you didn't warrant a pocket watch, you'd get a pocket-sized telegraph key. They're really cute. And this is a very neat little setup. It's about 2 inches long, and this is worth about $1,500. They're quite rare, made by New York Novelty and Manufacturing Company in 1903, maybe that's 3 down there.
Yeah, that looks like a 3.
So that's a cute little miniature. This is a miniature camelback key that was made by another key collector, so it doesn't really count. It was just an exercise. This is a really tiny, we're talking maybe 1.5 inches from left to right on this thing, fully operational key and sounder made by Bonnell. Bonnell was one of the telegraphers for President Lincoln during the Civil War, and after that, he started his own telegraph company, and he made a lot of keys, and this is one of the ones that he made. Actually, he didn't make this one. I'm sorry. This was made after he died. His son or some relative of his took over the Bonnell company and decided to issue this thing, and it's plated in gold, and they sold them for $500. It's now worth maybe 1,000 or 1,200 because there aren't all that many of them around. This is a tiny little Russian spy key. It'd be the kind of key you would use with a Russian spy radio set. And that is the perfect venue for me to transition into my other material here. Stop me if you get bored. Let's go to this. Okay, are we seeing that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the same key that I just showed you is mounted on top of this set, and this is a Russian field radio and spy radio. It has a synthesizer which allows you to tune to an exact frequency, those knobs along the top, and an antenna hooks on it, and you can see the earphones. The Russian radios show up at this show fairly frequently, and it's a joy to find them. This is a British, German spy radio, somewhat similar to the functioning of the Russian radio that we saw before. This is a World War II German direction finding receiver, and that big horizontal thing you see on the front is a loop antenna, which you have to put together, and it mounts way up on top of this radio, way up on top of that sort of cathedral shaped thing there. So the whole set includes the base tripod, the radio itself, and an antenna that goes way up, and you turn the antenna and there's a dial up at the top, a compass dial, so you get an exact reading of the direction from this device to another radio. And this was used very widely by the Germans during World War II to try and track down Allied spies who would set up in Germany and transmit back messages.
Wow.
More and more of the classic World War II radios show up at this show. I'll just go through a few of them, and then we'll get into stuff that might interest you. These are all classic German field radios, the three of them here. And it's a transmitter. Each one is a transmitter and receiver, and worked on a battery pack that you see down at the bottom. And they were very widely used by the Germans. Whenever they set up a radio station in the field, they would carry one of these things with them and set it up. This is over on the left, another portable German radio, the sort of lighter colored one. And I don't know what the radio on the left is, but it's got batteries, and it probably is also a field radio. These things are available at the show for somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $500, which is a real bargain for World War II collectors. And the show draws a lot of people to that kind of thing. This is a Russian radar detector, and you wear this thing on your head and walk around with it, and the thing that you see down in the gray case is the antenna, and that goes up on your helmet, and you walk around with this thing, and when you are pointing at a operating radar system, the radio that you see around the guy's waist here lets you know that you are in the vicinity of this. And you can also mount the antenna on the radio, as you see in the right, or you can mount it up on top of your helmet, which is what you see on the left. I don't know what that is. This is another classic Russian spy radio. You fold the front in, and it's a complete radio transmitter and receiver. And the thing on the right is something called a burst encoder. And you punch a message into 35 millimeter film using a little punching device, and you crank that crank that you see in the upper right, and it pulls the message through this code reader very, very quickly. So you can send a Morse code message in a second that might take you 5 or 10 seconds to send by hand. And that makes it harder for the enemy to zero in on you and get a bearing. This is another spy radio, and this is a Russian night vision telescope. Obvious uses for seeing things at night. Here's, I love these pictures. The guy wearing this radar detector on his head, he just looks like such a strange setup. And the unfortunate thing is that the darn antenna is so heavy, I couldn't bring this home. I really wanted to buy this thing and wear it around the Brookline meet or something like that. But the antenna was about 25 or 30 pounds alone, just that sort of thing that he has up on his head. And I couldn't imagine bringing that home on an airplane, since I also had an Enigma to bring home.
You could have walked down the catwalks. This has been like a Russian fashion show. You wear that.
Yeah, right. That'd be wonderful. More Russian spy gear, and this is a Russian night vision scope with a very high gain, so you can see things that are very poorly illuminated. More Russian stuff.
Wow.
There's the antenna thing again. As you see here, it's a conglomeration of U.S. Navy radios, the black one stacked up on the right, and miscellaneous other radios on the left. They're radios. You see some of these at Brookline. People do collect these things, and interesting tube testers show up. This thing is, look at all the different bases that tube tester can handle. And you can see the stack of cards on the left there. That's just about got every tube in creation.
Wow.
And here's an external additional socket set for the tube tester. If you haven't got enough sockets on this guy up at the top, you add this thing on and it'll fit whatever other tubes you have.
Wow.
An amazing piece. This is an interesting little radio. I couldn't read the maker on it, but it is a shortwave receiver with a number of bands, and it's quite small, and it looks like there are 3 preset bands on there, probably a volume and a tuning control on the front.
Sure.
Again, these things are really dirt cheap. Typical Collins radios in the back, behind a lovely Wimshurst static electricity generator, this circular thing that you see in the front there.
Cool.
I'll just zip through some more of this. This is a complete ready to go Russian field spy radio set with antennas and earphones and radio and everything else in the original box. I think the price for that was $200, and it's a bargain. Getting back to some more typical radio equipment, this looks like a tuner coil with a little crystal detector on the front there. My hands aren't very steady, so you may have to put up with a little blurriness here. But this was my big find. It happens to be the Hungarian power supply for a Russian Enigma cipher machine. And I've never seen one of these before, but you can tell it's Hungarian because all the writing is in Hungarian rather than Russian. So when Russia occupied all these other countries, they brought their equipment in, and then they had to change the labeling and the color of the front plate to match whatever country this equipment was in. This is another Russian radio. This is the best picture I have of the guy.
He looks clean.
I just wish I had that thing to wear around. I think that would be too cool.
Well, I bet you all those Russian girls have posters of him in their bedrooms. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's right. There's your centerfold, Bob.
I swear he must have a heck of a headache too wearing that thing. The thing on top of his helmet is the really heavy part. And as you can see in this illustration, you can take it off the helmet and wear it around your neck, which means you'll have a neck ache instead of a headache, but who knows?
Did that Hungarian power supply come home with you, Tom?
I couldn't. I was really tempted to bring it home. There's a dummy load nice little dummy load, and this is a complete military loudspeaker system for outside, more military radio. Now we're getting into some more interesting stuff. This is another tube tester, and the tube testers over there are really quite peculiar because the bases of the European tubes are often very, very strange. You can see little contacts on the base connectors over there, and I guess you set all these dials the way you would with any tube tester. It probably has a basic voltage that you put in with those binding posts on the left. So if you want to collect tube testers, now here is an absolutely peculiar set. There's a radio on the bottom, and you can see there's a phonograph player on the top, but there's also, believe it or not, a wire recorder under the record. Is that unbelievable? Look at that thing. I just think that is.
I've never seen that combination.
I had an American version of one of those. I think it was a GE.
Yeah.
It was a console. It took up more space than that. But yeah, you could play the records, or you could record off of the radio or off of a record onto the wire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mine also came with, and maybe this one is hidden somewhere, it also came with a microphone so that you could sing along with the record and onto the wire recorder. So you could get your voice with the music onto the wire recorder.
That is absolutely wonderful. And then on the right here, it looks to me like a little cassette player, which makes no sense to me at all, because they didn't have cassettes in the days of wire recorders, or wire recorders in the days of cassettes. I think they grew out of wire recorders a long time.
Look at that baby in there.
That might have just been stuck in there. That could have been a place where that microphone I was talking about got stored, if you were able to hook up the microphone.
Although I think if you look on the left here, you'll see your microphone right there.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell with the wires. Yeah, it looks like a connector there
to the left. I think I have a closer view of this thing that might. Yeah, here we go. You can see the mic on the left and the wire recorder underneath here in the record. Now the big question is, what the heck, whether I could figure out the maker's name. And
it's right dead center, and I'm a little bit unsure. It's certainly German, but I'm trying to think. At least I'm fairly sure it's German now, but I'm trying to figure out who that might be.
Let me see if I can. Are you still seeing this?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to try and blow it up and see if I can. We can see it's a Decca record.
Oh yeah,
that's where it looks like a key slot.
Let me see if I can get down here and see. Damn. The resolution of my camera just wasn't, or I was shaking or something like that. But
that's a tough
can't
one.
quite make it out there. Too bad, because that's
unusual, because it's got the center dial. It's not your typical ones. It's probably a lesser or a niche manufacturer just guessing, because it doesn't look like styles that would come to mind offhand. That's interesting.
And the other thing that's interesting is, it looks like it has a lock for the cover.
Right.
That looks like a little lock position there.
Wow,
I don't know.
Neat unit.
It's really, really a peculiar set. I loved it. I was very tempted to try and bring that one home too, but there's only so much you can get on an airplane and talk your wife into helping you carry.
I think
try to get that overhead bin.
It looks like Telefunken. With how they have their decal. I just looked up their decals online, and it looks like Telefunken is just one word. And the character
on the bottom there.
I mean, maybe. I just wasn't 100% sure whether that was. It looks kind of short to be, but you could be right, Joe.
T-E-L-E Funken. It could be. Yeah.
We're missing part of it.
Myself, at least I could have written down the name when I was there, but sorry about that.
No, that's okay. This is neat stuff. I mean, look at that. I've never seen one like that with that configuration.
Yeah, it's just a magnificent piece. I think that damn cassette player there wasn't even part of it.
It just happens to be sitting there.
it doesn't even have a home up there. It's just lying there. So probably he's selling that separately, but it looks like he has a spare roll of wire to go
Yeah.
with it.
Yep.
Maybe you buy
Wouldn't
the
that
radio,
be-
get the cassette free.
That would be just
Hey,
amazing.
you know, Tom, those wire recorders are just so darn reliable. So maybe that cassette player is a backup,
Yeah.
for when the wire breaks.
Yeah, that's it, right.
Now, of course, the American one that I had was strictly just AM and shortwave. It wasn't multiband, but
Yeah.
and the record player is just 78 RPM.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with a wire recorder. What was the name of that wire recorder that everybody had in those days? Record, yeah. I don't know.
Accordion?
Oh,
There was also a Minifon wire recorder that
All right.
was by
I
Spot.
found it on Google. It is a
Great.
Surrey, Surrey.
Ah, okay. And that's the name of this radio?
Or it's a Shab
Oh,
Super.
Shab? Shab?
Yeah,
Should be a Shab.
Yeah, because of where the iTube's at. Yeah, this one's matching it. So the
the
Shab.
common one, Tom, was the Webster.
Yeah, that's it. Webcore, right, Webster. Yep. Thank you. It's been a while. Okay, let's see what else I can show you. That's really a fun piece.
Yeah, that's really.
Are we running out of time yet?
We have maybe a few more minutes, Tom, and then
Okay. This is a pile of German Volksempfängers. Volks means people, and Empfänger is the name of a receiver.
Yeah.
And this is the People's Radio Receiver. And these were given to everybody in Germany at an absolute rock bottom price. So you could listen to the glorious Führer's voice. And if you tuned these things to anything that wasn't the glorious Führer's voice, you could be imprisoned or shot. And that was made very clear with a red tag that said, do not tune this radio. I don't understand why they made it tunable if they're going to shoot you for listening to the BBC. But they did a very clever thing. They would take the BBC broadcast and broadcast a very, very loud tone overriding the BBC broadcast. It was all AM, so they could do this, just a more powerful tone on the BBC broadcast. And they told people, if you hear a tone coming from your neighbor's radio, call us and we'll take care of your neighbor. In other words, it was a way of determining whether people were sneaking and listening to the BBC broadcast, because if they were, the radio would go beep every once in a while, and your neighbors would then turn you in and you'd be interviewed by the Gestapo and be in very, very big trouble. Now, there's a lot of history to these things. Look at all the different designs. They are not very expensive because there were literally tens of thousands of these things distributed to every German household during the war. And they came in numerous designs. Some of them had dials that you could read. Most of them did not have a readable dial on them. So these are a little bit unusual. Yeah, sorry, blurry picture of them. Here's an interesting set. I didn't know what to make of this guy. No maker's name that I could see on it, although there's something down at the bottom. It sort of had the feeling of maybe
it's a knockoff.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It had that feeling of the knockoff, but yeah, it looked interesting and old, and I figured it was worth taking a picture of it.
That's the effect, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. This is a very interesting little Eldico sideband transmitter with an oscilloscope on the upper right. And I don't remember seeing that when I was a ham. I had Eldico equipment. Most of it was a kit that you built. And this is one I don't remember ever coming across. $250 for it, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. Here's a Grundig antenna Messempfänger. So it is a antenna receiver, I guess. It's
Yeah.
obviously by Grundig. It may just be a completely tunable television receiver. It sort of looks that way, doesn't it?
Unusual.
But a very interesting piece of test equipment, if it's test equipment, certainly not not a living room piece. Then I stopped off to see what this was. I couldn't figure it out. Anybody know what that is?
That jumping at me.
It was in the pile of radio
Impression.
equipment. I'm thinking all these little capacitors are hooked together here. And then I realized that it's a gun cleaning kit. You
Oh
drop
yeah, the
that
brush, the
drop that
brushes.
little chain down the barrel,
I would
and you
explain.
put either a piece of cloth here, or you use these brushes and you pull them through the barrel of your gun. So you never know what you're going to trip over in this show. It's just absolutely neat. And speaking of which, here is what I think is a vision testing device for a motor vehicle bureau. You look in here and they put little letters up here, and if you could see the letters, you get your driver's license.
Cool.
This is a really fun quack medical device called let's see if we can get the name to come up.
Fluvita? Something.
Fluvita.
Oh,
The Vita part is health. Flu is not health. So
it's a flu detector.
And these are the voltage settings. This is over on the left, it's fort, strong. On the right, it's feeble, fable. And in the middle, it's stop. Anyway.
Is it a hard stop, or
This is called a Blu-ray set, and these things, when you turn it on, a very high voltage comes into this electrode and everything glows blue here. And if you put it over a person's skin, little sparks jump from this glowing blue tube over to the skin. And if you're a really convincing doctor, you say, okay, you're cured of cancer, you can leave. A typical quack medical device.
Wow, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. I love this one. This is a disc phone music box, and I love the picture up here, all these little tiny babies dancing, and the guy of course insisted on playing it for me, and it was a waltz, and it just went around and went bling bling bling. It was a great experience. Really, really heavy, and no way I could get it home, but it was a classic living room piece from some German household, I would guess in the 20s or 30s or maybe earlier.
Wow,
Beautiful.
That's unusual.
Yeah, and here was one that just boggled my mind. I think this is a phonograph. It looks like it's all supported by this big motor over here, and you have the tone arm coming over and a bunch of different wires and things. It just looked like it had a place in my living room, but I knew I'd be in trouble if I brought that one home.
Maybe it has different attachments, maybe a mixer attachment and other things.
And
you know, tell the missus it's an antique pizza slicer.
There you go.
Yeah, lovely speaker with a phonograph.
Wow, that is unusual.
Yeah,
that's stunning.
That is wow.
And this looked really interesting. This looked really interesting until I read down here Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So it's an internet radio, but I like the design better than the usual plastic.
Yeah, it's actually rather slick, I'd say.
Yeah.
It looks like, well, maybe I'm misreading it. No, sound. I'm sorry, I misread it. That
looks like it's a CD player or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
we have a Pioneer stereo receiver.
It's American. So
there's a lot of American stuff that gets into this show. I guess it was popular. These are boxes that haven't yet been unloaded onto people's tables. They're about maybe 300, 400 tables, maybe more. So there's a lot to look at. looks like it's about time for me to quit, but I'll just throw a couple more at you. Didn't know what this was. It had no label on it. It's in a 19-inch rack. It looks to me like it probably was an amplifier with
Yep.
gain and treble and bass controls on the front, maybe two.
Like a bogan or something.
Yeah, maybe, but it had no name, and so I couldn't really place it. This is an interesting recorder, and very, very high voltage transformer that could have powered a 10 kilowatt transmitter, and a very high voltage antenna tuner. This is something that I got really excited about. It's a World War I radio receiver, military, and it's not in great condition, but it looked like something I had to have, but I couldn't. That little set of clips that you see in the middle there are for a crystal detector, I'm sure. And with that, let's call it quits from me for tonight. And there's a lot more, obviously.
Oh, that's great, Tom. We really appreciate that. There's some remarkable pieces that we just never see. So
yeah, that's the fun reason for going to this show. It's stuff that I've never seen before, and every table is something new that's a surprise.
This is great. Well, with that, maybe I guess I'll close up shop here. Really appreciate everybody's attending. It was really a lot of fun. We saw the neat stuff between, some of Bill Holly's collection and, of course, the Friedrichshafen HAMfest, and of course more Spring Brookline. But anyway, we'll probably pick this up again when we see you next in a couple of weeks. But
I have a 30-second show and tell.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Bruce. Slide her in.
Well, when Hugh came over to buy the oscilloscope, we all ended up following Hugh to a yard sale, and the yard sale had hundreds and hundreds of salt and pepper shakers. Okay. So I asked the purveyor whether they had any nipper salt and pepper shakers. She said, yeah, but she wasn't going to sell them. Anyway, some money talked her out of this little find right here.
Wow, wonderful.
I get the nipper and the Victrola.
Very.
And it's Japan, but I've never seen a combination of the two. I have many of these little salt and pepper shakers, but I've never had the one with the Victrola. So
nice, very nice.
That's pretty cool. Good find. Nice find.
She decided she'd rather have the money than have these.
There you go.
Thank you.
Well, no, enjoy. That's great. Thanks for showing. All right, guys. Well, it was great having you on, and in a couple of weeks. And really appreciate all the great stuff you guys have shared, and wish you a good couple of weeks ahead. Stay cool or stay dry. It's one of the two coming up for us. I think we have more rain coming up early next week, so we're trying to do both.
All right. Thank you.
Take care of yourself, guys.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Good night.
Hi, guys. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, you too.
Hi,
Yeah,
Bruce.
thanks for coming, Mark. Good seeing you.